In this video, I'm going to start to explore process costing using exercise 637. We'll take a deeper dive in process costing when we jump into chapter 8 later. In this problem, this company produces oil. So when we talk about process costing, we're generally talking about a company with a homogeneous product. So this seems to be the correct method for them. On May the 1st, the company had no beginning work in process inventory. It did start production of 244 million barrels of oil in May and shipped 216 million barrels in the pipeline. The cost of the resources, and I'm going to cut the millions here. This is really in millions to make it easier. Materials, 6,000. Conversion costs, which include labor and overhead, of 7,968. The production supervisor indicates that work in process inventory, because keep in mind we started 244 barrels, only finished and shipped 216. So we have some ending work in process inventory, is only 60% complete on May the 31st. They want us to calculate the cost of the product shipped, the 216 million barrels, and also the cost we need to apply to that 28 million barrels in ending work in process inventory. So you may think process costing, easy. Take the total cost, add it up, divide it by the number of units. We can average it out. They're all the same. This is easy. Multiply it times the number of units shipped, multiply it times the number of units in ending work in process inventory, and done. But it's not that easy, because the complication is that we have ending work in process inventory, so therefore it is partially complete. Let's explore some alternatives we could use to calculate that average cost. Before I do that, let me quickly total up the total cost. Again, I'm dropping the millions here. It would be 13,968. Let me also calculate how many units were in ending work in process inventory. If I started 244, shipped 216, therefore subtracting that out, that would be 28 million barrels at 60% complete as of the end of May. So one approach I could take to calculating average cost is just dividing it by the number of complete units. So it'd be like this. Again, dropping the millions, 13,968 divided by 216 barrels is $64.67 per million barrels. That excludes, considering that part of that 13,968 went to incomplete units. So this is not correct. So I could venture over here to the right and say, well, maybe the better way to do this is to take that same total cost of 13,968 and divide it by the addition of the completed units, 216, plus units in ending inventory, the 28, so 244 units. And I would get $57.25. And that does consider that I have some ending work in process inventory. But the problem with this is it's treating the 28 ending inventory the same as the units that are complete, and they're not the same. Some of them are finished, some are not finished. So the better way to do this is to leave the completed units at 216, they're already done, but transform those 28 physical units in ending work in process inventory to what we call equivalent units. If we had taken the time and resources instead of making 28 million barrels 60% complete, if we had taken those same time and resources, how many units could we have actually finished? So I'm going to take the same 13,968, divide it by the addition of the 216 barrels, again, that were shipped out, plus the equivalent of the ending work in process inventory by taking the number of physical units, 28, times the percentage of completion, 60%. I don't show it here, but that would be 16.8 equivalent units. Add it to the number of units finished, divide it into 13,968, and I get the correct average cost per million barrel of $60. That's accurate. So all I have to do now is apply this to the number of units shipped, $60 equivalent unit costs per million barrel times 216 equivalent units shipped out equal 12,960. Again, really that's millions. And also ending inventory. Now here's where the trick comes in. When I multiply the $60 times the 216, that's both the physical number of units and equivalent number of units because they're done. They're shipped. They're already finished. But recall that that $60 per million barrel is based upon equivalent units. So I also need to take that ending inventory and transform it again to equivalent units to get it on the same basis. So again, I took 28 units times 60% to get 16.8 equivalent units in ending work in process inventory, multiply it times the $60 per million barrel, and I get $1,008. Really, again, that's in millions that would apply to ending inventory. Again, in chapter 8, we're going to add some additional complications of there's different approaches, there's weighted average, there's FIFO, but this at least gives you an introduction to some of the complications with process costing.